Thanks.
Natasha.
See you, bro.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our dear Senator Natasha says she will be resuming her duties as Senator next Tuesday, come rain or sunshine.
Yes, he has.
And you still have 2 months to go for your result, for you to resume.
Okay, so yes, the Senate President did appeal the entire judgment. One of the grounds he appealed was that the Federal High Court has no jurisdiction to entertain the matter in the first place because it's issues that surround the National Assembly. And I have already spent pretty much over 4 months already. But the fact that I've been suspended, I keep saying this, I never stopped working. It took a whole lot of effort to follow up and get all of these things done. And we were just here last week where we flagged up the construction of 2 brand new smart markets, which I'm actually even going to go there later on today to see because they're already digging the foundation. And over there you can see we're putting up a maternity center over there. So I also gave 700 digital learning devices last week to a school. So pretty much there's a whole lot of work. And believe me, we have other interesting projects are waiting for the contractors are waiting for their awards, and I'll come down here to flag up because these projects must be completed by the end of the year. So I'm really busy. I did mention that every senator has 3 major functions: the legislative, which is the creation of laws and review of treaties. Then we have the oversight, which you oversight ministers and agencies. And then the third is representation, which I'm doing, whereby I identify the problems and the challenges of my community, and I make sure I present them and have them captured in the federal budget. And I have done pretty well with that. Of course, I do miss following up with my bills there, but it didn't stop me from working. But I have pretty much 2 months more before the 6 months expire. However, I have written to the Senate again, telling them that I'm resuming on the 22nd, which is on Tuesday, by the special grace of God. I will be there to resume because the court did make a decision on that. Now, they argue that it's an order. It's not an order, but it is a decision. And if you look at section 318, I think, of the Nigerian Constitution, it did mention that a recommendation forms part of a decision of a court. So whether it's a recommendation, a judicial decree, a sentence or an order, they are all decisions, and decisions are binding on every Nigerian and every authority and every institution. So I'm going to be there live to attend. But I also know that the Senate will be going on recess very soon, maybe most likely next week for 2 months. That means by the time the Senate resumes, my 6 months would have lapsed, and I will resume. And yeah, I don't hope there'll be any more resistance because you can't apply you can't go against what they call double jeopardy rule, whereby you punish someone twice. So after the 6 months, you now go back to court or do extend or whatever. No, that will amount total abuse of power, which of course I do sense an abuse of power already. But that's for the courts and the public to judge. But so far, and my people are not missing anything. As a matter of fact, I think we're one of the luckiest constituents so far.
So she said there she has communicated her intention to resume her duties as senator to the Senate. But the question is, did she get any response from them? Or that's inconsequential? And the other big question is, can she resume her duties as senator while Senator Akpabio's case challenging her resumption is before the court? Or she has to wait for that case to be determined before she can resume? I am obviously not a lawyer, but in my quest to get a non-partisan lawyer,
the court itself,
I found this senior advocate of Nigeria's position on the matter very illuminating. Watch.
the court itself contradicted itself.
Right. In what way?
Now, the court said there is no limit contained in the rules and regulations of the Senate as to how long you can suspend somebody. That is part of the judgment of the court. If there is no limit in the legislation, the court is not a legislator. The business of the court is to interpret the law as it is, no matter the hardship it will give anybody. But you interpret it as it is. You yourself have said it has no limit. It is left completely at the discretion of the Senate. Then how can you now introduce a limit and decide that it is excessive.
Six
It's not
months,
your
that
business.
6 months is excessive.
It's not the business of the court. The most my lord could have done at that point was to recommend recommend an amendment. So that's the first thing I fault. But the court clearly said it is excessive. Go back to your work. So she's supposed to come back immediately. But then the Senate says we've not seen a copy of the judgment because they read the judgment in summary form. So we need to see the certified true copy to be sure whether she was ordered to come back immediately or whether there are conditions attached and so on and so forth. So we are still playing, everybody's still playing within the the rules. They're entitled to see the judgment. Natasha is entitled to go back to the Senate. But the Senate must see the judgment, a certified true copy of that, before it can now say, yes, we were ordered to allow her to come back.
So should she resume tomorrow, Tuesday, as she has told her Timin supporters, would she then be in contempt of the court, as the Senate is yet to take a decision following the court's judgment? And then the question about what the court said. This is how it's been interpreted. The court did say that the Senate has the right to discipline its members.
Yes.
It also said it was excessive because it negates a constituency's right to representation.
Yes.
So then, how do we balance that? If the Senate has the right to punish its members, but then 6 months becomes too excessive, how then do we draw the balance between punishing and, the right punishment?
That's why I told you that it is not the business of the court to say it is excessive. If it is excessive only when it exceeds something, it exceeds a limit set by law. There is no limit set by law, as the court itself found.
In other words, 6 months can be very...
It can be 6 months, it can be 1 year. Once they say you have right to suspend, it's like the House of Assembly and impeachment. The House of Assembly is given the power to impeach a governor for gross misconduct. No court can tell a House of Assembly what is gross misconduct. It is the House of Assembly that says you are guilty of gross misconduct. What is gross misconduct? You remember in Enugu they removed the deputy governor because he was rearing poultry. He had a chicken.
Right.
Chair, you did say, so my first leg of my question was, should she resume tomorrow? Will there be a contempt?
The order of a court takes effect immediately it is pronounced.
Even though the Senate hasn't seen the true...
Yes. It is therefore, they ought to have made an effort to have seen it by now.
What about the other leg of her being found guilty of contempt in the satirical apology she placed?
Yes, that one is different from the issue of her
resumption.
Suspension, yes.
Okay.
Because that one, the court made an order. See, apologize for so and so. And nobody should speak on this
Apologize
issue.
to who specifically? Is it to the court?
It is to the Senate,
is it to the
not
Senate?
to the court. What?
I asked you about the senator's side of the story, saying she would resume tomorrow regardless. Let me ask you on the Senate side.
But let me come in to say that
Yes.
if she comes, she must be given access by the sergeant at arms, who will say no because I've not seen the judgment.
Okay, so that can happen.
That can happen to her.
Okay, because...
But she has the right to go back.
To go there.
But the man also has the right to say, I need to see the judgment.
Now, as objective as that might sound, it also seems to have presented a very complex situation that might snowball into yet another rowdy session in the Senate. Because from what he has explained, both parties have the powers to act in their best interest. And by the way, 2 weeks ago, Senator Natasha had boasted that she was going to resume her duties as senator. But when it was time for her to walk the walk, she was nowhere to be found. So it will certainly be interesting to see what happens this next Tuesday. But Senator Natasha, I, as an individual, will not stop asking you, where is the evidence you promised to provide? Because once you manage to resume as senator now, the next thing you will start saying is you want to focus on your constituents that have been deprived of representation in the last 4 months or so. Therefore, providing evidence will be a distraction. So now is the time. Where is the evidence against Senator Akpabio?